We were trying to get our head around this when the story first broke. What would drive a mother to kill newborn babies and hide their little bodies in boxes in her garage labeled Christmas?
The story begins in the quiet suburban streets of Pleasant Grove, Utah, where Darren Brad West and his high school sweetheart Megan Huntsman appeared to be the picture-perfect couple. They married young, had 3 beautiful daughters, and lived in a house provided by Darren's parents. To the outside world, they seemed like an ordinary, loving family, the kind you'd find next door, with Darren working at an excavating company and Megan staying home to raise the kids. They were described as caring parents who kept their home immaculate, always present for their daughters' school events and daily routines. But behind the curtains of this seemingly idyllic life lay a hidden darkness that no one, not even their closest friends and family, could have imagined. Darren and Megan were both trapped in the grip of a severe meth addiction, which they managed to conceal for years, maintaining their roles as high-functioning addicts. Despite their drug use, the couple managed to keep up appearances. Their daughters went to school with clean clothes and packed lunches, and the house always looked well kept. To the outside world, they were just another struggling but functional family. However, their secret life of addiction began to unravel in 2005 when Darren was arrested for possessing chemicals used to manufacture methamphetamine. Darren vehemently denied that he was involved in making or selling drugs, claiming he was simply holding on to the chemicals for a friend. Despite his protests, Darren was sentenced to 9 years in prison, leaving Megan to navigate her addiction alone. With Darren behind bars, Megan's life spiraled further into chaos. She attempted to replace meth with heavy drinking and marijuana, which only fueled her growing depression. The tension between Megan and Darren's parents escalated, leading to her eviction from the family home. Darren's sister moved in to care for the girls, who were now teenagers, while Megan moved in with her new boyfriend, isolated from her children. After Darren's release from prison in 2014, he returned to a fractured family. His daughters were grown, and the once picture-perfect marriage was nothing more than a distant memory. The facade of a happy, functioning family was long gone, leaving only the painful truth of addiction and broken promises. On April 12, 2014, Darren West returned to his family home at 536 East 200 North in Pleasant Grove, Utah, ready to rebuild his life after serving a 9-year prison sentence. Joined by family members, Darren began the daunting task of cleaning out the garage, sorting through years of accumulated belongings, old toys, family memorabilia, and the usual clutter of everyday life. But the day took a horrifying turn when Darren, or possibly his youngest daughter, discovered a small box sealed with black electrical tape and emanating a strong chemical odor. Inside, they found the tiny, decomposing body of a newborn wrapped in plastic. The shocking discovery sent Darren reeling. He immediately called Megan, demanding answers. Megan, unflinching, admitted that the baby was hers, claiming it was stillborn and that she'd hidden the body out of fear and shame, burying it in the chaos of their cluttered garage. She recounted the birth vaguely, aligning it with the time of Darren's legal troubles, but her story raised more questions than it answered. How had no one noticed she was pregnant? And why had she chosen to hide the baby's body rather than seek help? The police were quickly summoned to the scene. As they sifted through the disarray of the garage, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Among the piles of dusty boxes and forgotten keepsakes, they found another similar box, and then another, and another. Each box contained the remains of a newborn, wrapped in towels or clothing and encased in plastic bags, all concealed with the same methodical care. The grim count eventually rose to 7 tiny bodies, each a silent witness to the unthinkable acts hidden within the walls of what appeared to be a normal family home. Megan was soon taken in for questioning. Calm and composed, she repeated her story about the first baby, sticking to the narrative of stillbirth and fear. As police confronted Megan Huntsman during her interrogation, the chilling reality of her actions slowly came to light. Megan, then 39, confessed that there were 8 to 9 infants hidden in the garage, 7 of whom she had deliberately killed just moments after giving birth. Megan recounted in disturbing detail how she had used her bare hands to end the lives of her newborns. either by strangulation or suffocation, each time looking down at her helpless babies with a callous resolve. She admitted that her reasons for these unimaginable acts were rooted in her belief that she couldn't afford more children in an abusive, drug-ridden life. Megan had chosen drugs and alcohol over her newborns, coldly prioritizing her addiction above the lives she brought into the world. When police discovered that one of the infants had a black elastic hair tie around its neck, Megan confirmed that she used it to ensure the baby would not survive. It was a harrowing confession, void of emotion, as she spoke of her actions with an unsettling calmness. The investigation quickly expanded beyond the garage where the infants were found. Authorities searched Megan's former and current residences, including her mother's home, to look for additional evidence or possible remains. They discovered blood-stained gloves, infant clothing, and a mattress with signs of a past delivery, yet no more bodies were found. Megan's inability to recall the exact number of infants she had killed, casually estimating 8 or 9, highlighted her deep disconnection from the horrors she had committed. When questioned further, she blamed her actions on the drugs she was using at the time, stating that the murders occurred between 1996 and 2006, aligning with the period when Darren was imprisoned. Despite her justification that she was saving her babies from a life of suffering, the reality of her actions was far darker. Megan's background offered little explanation for her monstrous behavior. She grew up in Pleasant Grove, Utah, in a family that was considered respectable and stable. Her parents worked hard, and Megan, the eldest of 3, was known to be quiet, withdrawn, and secretive. Even as a teenager, Megan had managed to hide a pregnancy, only revealing it after the birth. Her tendency to conceal personal struggles, coupled with her reclusive nature, created a perfect storm that allowed her to hide her repeated pregnancies from everyone, including her own family. After her first hidden delivery, Megan married Darren and quickly withdrew from those around her, keeping her life shrouded in secrecy. Over the years, her chronic depression and fear of reaching out for help only deepened her isolation, pushing her further into the clutches of addiction. As her drug use intensified, Megan found herself in a cycle of concealing pregnancies and deciding time and again that her babies would not survive. Each time she discovered she was pregnant, she resolved to keep the secret and dispose of the newborn, choosing death as her twisted form of birth control. The only child who survived during this dark period was her youngest living daughter, born purely because Megan had let her pregnancy slip during a casual conversation with relatives. This accidental admission created accountability, and Megan felt forced to carry the pregnancy to term and care for the child, a stark contrast to the fate of the others. Despite raising her surviving daughters with apparent love and care, Megan continued her pattern of deception. She had perfected the art of secrecy, delivering her infants in private even when others were in the house. On one occasion, while Darren, his brother, and sister-in-law watched TV in the living room, Megan excused herself, claiming she felt unwell, and delivered a baby alone in the bathroom. Moments later, she ended the newborn's life, quietly returning to the living room as if nothing had happened. Megan's ability to hide her pregnancies was just as baffling. She wore loose clothing and gained only minimal weight, allowing her to avoid suspicion from those around her. Even Darren, who slept beside her night after night, claimed to be unaware of the multiple pregnancies, a fact that left many, including the police, struggling to comprehend. However, DNA evidence confirmed that Darren was the father of all 7 infants found in the garage, and he reluctantly admitted that Megan had told him about a few pregnancies, claiming they ended in miscarriages, as Megan continued her life with a new boyfriend. She repeated the same pattern, falsely claiming she had miscarried when confronted with her pregnancy. Despite no new infants being found at her current residence, Megan's continued deceit revealed a deeply ingrained pattern of denial and concealment. Darren's reaction when the bodies were discovered made it clear that he was in genuine shock, unable to comprehend that these were his own children who had been murdered by the woman he once called his wife. Megan was arrested on April 14, 2014 on 6 counts of suspicion of murder with bail set at $1 million per infant. During her hearing, she remained emotionless, barely reacting to the charges. Authorities faced a significant challenge in gathering evidence from the badly decomposed bodies, relying heavily on Megan's confession to build their case. Forensic examinations were unable to determine the exact cause of death for most of the infants due to the state of decomposition, and Megan's own admissions became the critical factor in securing her conviction. Without her willingness to confess, it's unlikely the police could have charged her with murder at all, given the lack of definitive forensic evidence. Megan's case was an unsettling outlier, as most instances of infanticide involved young, isolated teenagers rather than a married woman with other children. Serial acts of infanticide like hers were virtually unheard of, with few cases bearing any resemblance. Megan Huntsman's story reached its grim conclusion on February 12, 2015, when she pled guilty to 6 counts of first-degree murder. During the sentencing, her lawyers proposed a sentence of 5 years to life, citing her cooperation and confession as critical elements that allowed prosecutors to build their case. 2 of her daughters spoke on her behalf, describing Megan as a loving and caring mother, struggling to reconcile the woman who raised them with the cold killer that the world now saw. Megan herself did not speak at the hearing, but through her lawyers, she expressed a hollow remorse, stating that she had deprived her babies of life and could not fully explain her heinous actions. The presiding judge, who had signed the initial search warrant and had hoped never to sit on this case, was visibly disturbed. He sentenced Megan to 6 terms of 5 years to life, with 3 sentences to be served consecutively and 3 concurrently, ensuring that she would remain behind bars until at least 2064, when she would be 89 years old. The stark difference between Megan's sentence and that of Andrea Geisbrecht, a woman with a similarly dark history of concealed pregnancies and infanticide, was striking. Andrea, who had hidden the remains of 6 infants in a storage unit, received only a fraction of Megan's punishment. Her sentence was eventually reduced to 6 months per child, a lenient outcome made possible by the lack of definitive proof that the infants had been born alive. Both women, despite committing unspeakable acts, showed little remorse or emotional connection to the lives they had taken. Psychological evaluations found no evidence of psychopathic or sociopathic disorders in either Megan or Andrea. They were simply trapped in a pattern of secrecy and addiction, unable or unwilling to break the cycle of death they had created. Megan's case shocked not only her family and community, but also the legal system, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and unimaginable grief. How could a mother commit such atrocities against her own children? How could she keep her actions hidden from those closest to her? Thanks for watching Secret Sleuths. If you're hooked on dark true crime stories, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Join us next time as we uncover more chilling secrets.